This is Chapter 2, Lesson 5 from California Math, your Common Core edition by McGraw Education. My daughter's in 6th grade doing homeschool, and she works through this book, so I make these videos for her, and so far it's working pretty well to where she can just watch the video and then go and do the problems on her own and ask me later if she has any questions. So this Chapter 2, Lesson 5, it's on comparing and ordering fractions, decimals, and percents. It does combine several of the previous lessons all into one, so you do want to be comfortable, say, finding least common multiples, which is in Chapter 1, Lesson 1. You do want to be comfortable converting fractions to decimals, percents to decimals. So lots of topics coming together in this section, and if you're shaking on any one, it might be difficult to solve the problems in this one. One thing they introduce is the idea of a least common denominator. The least common denominator of some collection of fractions, so here I have 3 fractions. This is the least common multiple of your denominators. So that least common denominator of these 3 fractions will be the least common multiple of 12, 15, and 5. And it turns out that this least common multiple of the denominators is important to find if you want to put fractions in order. So let's go ahead and start. So first example, order the numbers from least or smallest to greatest. So right now I'll begin by finding the least common denominator. That means I need to find the least common multiple of 12, 15, and 5. How we do that, and again, if you have to go back and review, that's fine. We build these factor trees. So I'll build the factor tree for 12 first. 12 is 3 times 4, and 4 is 2 times 2. 15, so my next denominator, is 3 times 5. I can stop because both 3 and 5 are prime numbers. My last denominator, 5, is itself prime. So its factor tree might look a little funny, but that's it. And because 5 is a prime number, this is the factor tree for the number 5. Now, at least the way that I showed in the video for Chapter 1, Lesson 1, to build the LCM, I kind of do it one by one, where I start with the first factor tree, I write some numbers down, then I look at the second factor tree and kind of compare what I've written down with the primes that I see, and I keep doing that for each factor tree. So let me start with the first one. For 12, I see a factor of 3, 2, and 2, so my LCM also needs those factors. Moving on to the second factor tree, I see a 3, but I already have one 3. I see a 5. I don't have a 5 down here yet, so I need to add it. But now I've taken care of the second factor tree, 3 and 5. This third factor tree, I have a 5, but I already have the 5 accounted for in my least common multiple. So I've examined all 3 factor trees. If I pick any one out and just check, do I have primes corresponding to our 3 and 5? And we do. Do I have primes corresponding to my 3, 2, and 2? Yep, 3, 2, and 2. And do I have a prime corresponding to 5? Yes. So I go ahead and multiply this out, and I'll do that quickly. It's okay if it takes you a little bit more time. 3 times 2 is 6. 6 times 2 is 12. 12 times 5 is 60. And so just some arithmetic one has to do off to the side. We are completely done with our factor trees, so we no longer need them. The key thing was getting this least common multiple of the denominators, and this number 60 is my least common denominator of these 3 specific fractions. So what do you do with this least common denominator? You rewrite each one of these fractions with 60 as a denominator. So now we're using ideas of equivalent fractions. 7 over 12. Let me go ahead and write it as the book does, right next to each other. That way it's not confusing. I want a denominator of 60, so I have to think. What do I have to multiply 12 by to get 60? 12 goes into 60 5 times. So I multiply my denominator by 5. And that means I also have to multiply my numerator by 5. 7 times 5 is 35. I repeat this for 10 over 15. I write 10 over 15 as an equivalent fraction with a 60 in the denominator. 15 goes into 60 4 times. So I multiply my numerator by that 4 as well. The final one, 3 over 5, and I should remark it's not a race. I know I'm kind of moving through these a little bit quickly. You can always pause the video and try and, say, find the next numerator that I'm going to compute. But these are problems that we've done before in previous lessons. 5 goes into 60 12 times. It's okay, often in math you have to go back and review things, and that's allowed. 3 times 12 is 36. All of the hard work is done. So we aren't going to have to do too much more arithmetic. The rest is just going to be comparing numbers. So because I now have this common denominator for all three fractions of 60, I can look at their numerators to order them. See up here, it's not enough to look at your numerators when your denominators are different, because you might be led into thinking one number is bigger than another when it actually isn't. You really have to have the same denominator when you're comparing fractions. So let's go ahead and look. We have a 35 over 60, a 40 over 60, and a 36 over 60. The 40 is the biggest numerator, so I'll put this as the big one, the biggest. And then 36 is bigger than 35, so I'll call that this the middle. And 35 is the smallest, so we'll call this the small. So my biggest number is 10 over 15, in the middle is 3 over 5, and my smallest number is 7 over 12. Let's use correct mathematical notation to express that statement that I just said out loud. So we're going to go ahead and order them from least to greatest. Let's see, 35 over 60, so 7 over 12. I should say these two do represent the same number, but since the problem asked us to order these fractions, I'm going to use this notation up here, even though 7 over 12 is the same as 35 over 60. Okay, so there's my smallest. 3 over 5 comes next. And then finally the biggest number, 10 over 15. Right, so you see several sections coming together to solve this type of problem of ordering fractions. Let me move on to one more example where we'll again order numbers, and fractions will be involved. But this time we'll order not only fractions, but some percents and decimals, kind of all mixed up into one problem. And we'll use a different strategy here. So when you're comparing fractions with, say, percents or decimals, it might be a good idea, this is not always the case, but following the book's suggestion and following the way I'm going to do the problem, it might be a good idea just to convert everything to a decimal. And then the comparisons can be a bit easier. So we're going to order these numbers from least to greatest again. This is our second example. And we'll do 1.3, say, and then 125%. And then 7 over 5. And 5 over 4. So even though I do have a couple fractions in the game, because I have a percent and a decimal, I'm not going to do the same thing I did in example 1, because I want to be able to compare not only these numbers with themselves, but also with these other two. So the strategy again would be to convert everything to a decimal. That's already a decimal, so I'm pretty happy there. I don't have to do much work. 125% to decimal, we just take that decimal point and move it over 2 spots. If you want to see the drawing, it's like this. So 125% is 1.25. So it's often easy to go back and forth between percents and decimals. And now you need to convert these two. So how do we convert fractions to decimals? There's 2 strategies. One can do a long division and kind of proceed all the way through. Another thing you could do is rewrite it so your denominators are a power of 10. And in this case, we'll rewrite this fraction with a denominator of 100. And we'll also rewrite this fraction with a denominator of 100, because once you have your denominator of 100, it's easy to convert to a decimal. So that was a lot of words. Let me just write stuff down. So 7 over 5. 5 does divide evenly to 100. It goes in 20 times. So 5 times 20 is 100. 7 times 20 is 140. And now what's nice about this is it easily converts to a decimal. 140 over 100 is 1.4. You could also write it as a percent. It's 140%. Right? So we see all these different representations of a number kind of coming together. So that's 7 over 5. Let me do the same thing with 5 over 4. 4 also divides evenly to 100, so this strategy will work. 4 times 25 is 100. This is a great time to pause and kind of see if you can finish off this problem entirely. We've already converted 3 of our numbers to decimals. we're just working on this fourth one. 5 times 25 is 125, which as a decimal would be 1.25. So I think we have everything converted to a decimal. Let's just, so we can kind of just look up here. Let me rewrite things. 5 over 4 is the same as 1.25. So I've used this calculation. I'll go ahead and get it out of the way. 7 over 5 is the same as 1.4. So I've used this computation. So we'll move this out of the way. And now I'm allowed to just look at these decimal numbers and compare them. So what do I see? I see two numbers the same, 1.25 and 1.25. Next, it looks like it'd be 1.3. And finally, our greatest number would be 1.4. Again, I'm going to use the notation that they gave us from the beginning, but I'm really looking at the decimal numbers when I go to order them. So I'll start here with the smallest, the 1.25. So 125% is equal to 5 over 4, which is less than 1.3, which is less than 7 over 5, because I know 7 over 5 is equal to 1.4. So patience is the key thing with these ones, and just going slow and kind of knowing that you may have to do some conversions, which can take a little bit of time, but it's fine. As long as we've learned our previous lessons, there's really nothing significantly new in this section. You do have to use these symbols, and this is a new idea, the least common denominator. Right, good.